Hello everyone again. I am Michael and I'm a PhD student come from EIRS, 一放系. I think the Chinese will be easier for you. And very appreciate that we can welcome Professor Alex to the events. And he goes through all around the world, have lots of work experience. And just Professor Alex, can you give us an introduction for yourself?
Sure. So hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, well, you know that my name is Alex. I am from Switzerland in Europe. My Chinese name is Ai Li. And I'm a philosopher by training. So, I look at philosophical issues that are usually related to emerging technologies, and now I'm doing a lot of work on AI. And I've lived in various parts of the world, as Michael has mentioned, which I think is the key reason for my presence here today. Yeah. So see if you can benefit from that experience indirectly.
Okay, so we can see that Professor Alex goes to all around the world that have learned at UK, and today we'll focus on the two Western country, that is Canada and the Greece. So today's topic is the global journey, and we'll please Professor Alex to share his experience of the different work environment. So before the sharing, we just go through all the semester of the corner20241205. So I think you may have the imagination for the different working environment at the other countries. So here's the time for you. What do you think about the work environment in Canada and Greece? So please take out your phone and scan the QR code now. And you can type any keyword that you think about the working environment. And just for free to key anything on it. High salary? It's a very important part. Cozy. Also friendly. We also can talk about maybe the vibe in the office, or how about the weathers or the traffic in the wide range of the Canada. We see that they have a chill and friendly colleague. I think we will mention later about the Canada. Okay, I think it's about the time. So Professor Alex, I think there's also lots of words we will mention later, like the friendly colleagues, or it is the weathers.
Yeah, lots of descriptors. So should I just pick a, focus on a few? So there was a free, Canada's a liberal democracy. I guess we can say it's a free country. There's political controversies everywhere, in lots of places, but overall it's quite a progressive country, but so is Taiwan as well. High salary, I think for professors and quite a few people have high salaries there. There's also very high taxes though, so that's something to bear in mind. Can get up to around 50%, if I remember correctly. Yes, it's the country of maples, the maple leaf and maple syrup on pancakes, which tastes very good.
I think it's also a great features in Canada. Let's move on to the next part.
Friendly people, yes, they tend to be friendly people.
Okay, so let's move on to the next part. So again, it is about Greece. How do you think about the work environment in Greece? Also, it is a Western country, and will you give similar keywords, or you will think that Greece will be different to the Canada? Blue and white? It just is a flag for Greece, right? There's a different one, sunny.
Sunny, C, yeah, spot on. High salary, I'm not so sure. I don't know, maybe if you're a business tycoon like Aristotle Onassis was, then you have a high salary, but most people don't. Language difficulty, yes. If you don't speak Greek, you might have some challenges, but there's still many people speak English there, especially in the touristic areas. Yeah, beaches. It is quite relaxed. I think that's an accurate perception.
Yeah, you also think that we chatting before, and you also say that it's a good place for the vacation. I think there's lots of keywords is about the vacations. It's a good place to have a travel.
Quit whenever you want. That's an interesting comment.
Oh.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that, but strike a lot. I would say, going on strike. That's been my experience. Lots of people were going on strike while I was there, but I don't know how it is now. It was kind of a special period with economic problems.
Maybe we'll talk about this later.
Yeah, I have some funny anecdotes, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's about that we can pass it to the next section, and now we will reveal the story from Professor Alex. So, after you get your PhD program degree at Oxford, and you get your first job in Canada, it's a place far away from your hometown. So, how about the work environment in Canada, and what did you make this decision to go the pace?
Right. So what drove my decision was mostly that I was, pretty big on, or I want to continue doing my own research, the sort of things I'm most interested in. And there was this postdoc in Canada, University of Montreal, that allowed me to do that. It really provided you with a lot of freedom to decide what you wanted to work on if you secured this postdoctoral funding. And so and Montreal is, I think it's a really great city, big city, kind of a mixture of North American and French influences, if you will. For me, I come from the French-speaking part of Switzerland, so this was, an ideal combination. There are some aspects I didn't really consider. I was younger and less knowledgeable back then, so one striking thing was that how short this postdoc was. So if someone, like a young person, asked me, should I apply for this postdoc, I would tell them, you might consider the duration. It's a bit short. It was 9 months, right, the duration of a pregnancy, basically. But they did renew it once, so I ended up staying a year and a half there. But it's still very short. Puts a lot of pressure on you to immediately find your next job. And I would usually, if someone really thinks this is an amazing opportunity, go for it. But now I would probably weigh that a bit more. Yeah, my decision, I think.
Yeah. So, for your the job in Canada, how about the workspace and the work environment in the office?
So the environment there was very friendly. So here, that's a picture. I couldn't find a picture during my time there for some reason, but there are several people here who were there while I was around, including the administrator. Whoa. This is the administrator. I cannot make this appear anymore. So I guess I'm gonna point. Oh, only. Okay, yeah, this person here, and these guys as well were there. Very friendly people. All the researchers all the postdocs, we were in the same office working on our stuff, and we would have discussions about what we were working on. And one aspect that was nice is that the director made sure that we would have lunch together pretty much every day, the whole institute center. And so there was quite a friendly atmosphere. People kind of got to know each other and what they were working on, and I think that was good.
I think the lunchtime events, I also have a very similar experience to you. In our lab, I think there's some lab mates on the seats, and we just have lunchtime every day, but a little bit different to you. Our lunchtime we more talk about the daily life, and also a large difference between that your workspace. You have a lot of colleagues that come from different countries. So in my experience, when we facing issues, we may having a more similar opinions, but I think you have said that when in your working space for the colleagues from diverse countries, and you can absorb or receive lots of different opinions or perspective from your colleagues. I think the diverse perspective is benefit for you or for us, right?
Absolutely. Although it also helped that we were all in the same field. So this was like a center for research in ethics. That's the center where I stayed. So everyone was working on some kind of topic in ethics and had some kind of philosophical training. So we could all, to some extent, engage with each other's research. If we were from completely different fields, we could still have had interesting conversations, I'm sure, but would not have been as much in depth about what the stuff we were working on.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting for that. The different working environment or different distribution of the colleagues between Canada's and Taiwan's. So I think we can move to the next part. Yeah. So after the project is end in Canada, you have the next job in Greece, and you just fly to Greece. And how about the new job for you, the working environment, or your decision for the new job?
Right, so this other job was also a postdoc. That was a 2-year one, so already longer and a bit more stable than the first one. And well, a key reason why I went there was that I knew the director of that research project, because I knew him from Oxford. And he was living in Greece at the time. He's married to a Greek woman, a professor. And this was, I was interested in the research project, especially from his angle, but it was an international collaboration with other people in Europe. Now, in terms of the working environment, it was quite different from Montreal. One thing was that it was a liberal arts college, whereas in my office there were no people doing the same kind of stuff that I was doing, except when my boss would come in occasionally. But otherwise, I would have people in my office who would chat about life or life in Greece, but we wouldn't chat so much about work. And yeah, Greece is quite a different country from Canada, as some of you already know. So based on the keywords you used, it's, yeah, it felt like I had to work, and don't get me wrong, I did put in hours definitely, but it felt a bit more like an extended summer vacation than my stay in Canada. And the weather is much nicer. Oh well, during the winter, let's be specific. During the winter, much more pleasant than in Canada. The weather in Canada can be quite unforgiving in the winter, right? That's one thing we discussed with Michael before.
Yeah, there are also a photo that you have a trip in Greece.
So this one is from Athens. That's the Parthenon, right? The famous, the Acropolis where all the famous ruins are.
Also, you said about that. I think it's a smaller office space, or a more compact one for in your office, and you have less time to talk about the job with the colleagues. So, do you have do you have some fun story that happened in your office, although they're just not working in the same field with you?
Right. Yeah, we were talking about more general things about academics' lives. There were funny things that happened during my stay in Greece, like things did not work exactly as in Canada. Not to say that there were never any like hiccups in Canada. Sometimes at some point the subway might have a malfunction, right? That can happen anywhere. But in Greece it's kind of more expected, right? The bus doesn't show up, the bus you need to take to go to work doesn't show up. It's like, okay, it's not so surprising. One day, not one day, or multiple times, in fact, the bus drivers all went on strike because there were all these problems with the government. There was this prospect of potentially leaving the European Union, and they had these economic issues. So some people weren't getting paid, so they got pissed off, understandably. They went on strike, and just kind of most extreme time was when the bus drivers and the taxi drivers all went on strike on the same day. Then I had to work from home because I had no way of going to my office, because my office was like half an hour, 45 minutes away from where I lived.
Yeah, I listened to this story when we have the meeting before. I think that's very fun for that. It's a very shock for that, because you can, they just let the transportation just no function at that day.
Right. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's easier for me to find it funny that if I were living in Greece constantly and I had to experience that multiple times. But hopefully it doesn't happen too often, right?
Yeah,
I was there for 2 years. Hopefully it's better now.
Yeah, so I think we learned some, listen for some stories from Professor Alex. So there are some, we can say that there are some features or some characteristics from the work environment in Canada and Greece. That maybe in Canada you might meet the more multiple cultural colleagues, and in Professor Alex's experience, he meet the colleagues that work in similar projects. And in Greece, there's a difference that may be a more compact place, and sometimes they will have some challenge in Greece that like a strike or something happen suddenly in the environment. So after you listen to these stories, that I think you might have imagined for the work environment you prefer. So now is your time. That we're going through a group discussion, and then please talk about which kind of work environment you prefer, and we are grouping just by the people nearby. So I think you just get the poker card and have the seats, and please just find your group members nearby, and then a very important reminder that please select one presenter from each group, and later on we'll let the presenter share the more interesting or impressive answer from your group. It can be a very ideal work environment, or which one, or the environment that you prefer. Yeah, so it's a time for you, and now is the group discussion. And it will about have 10 minutes for you.
favorite orange colors, you realize that you go out, the salary cost is like double and the work after country less than China. So actually when you go out and feel boring. But you get paid. You
Hello, hello. Hello, hello. I think it's about time. Okay, so there's a lot of discussion and for your group, and I think you just select the presenter, right? So who want to go first? Or I will select one? Who want to go first? He? Someone say that you want to go first.
Okay. From my opinion, I would prefer the smaller office place to keep more privacy and the quiet place. And I won't like to be disturbed from anyone else. Yes.
Okay, thanks for sharing. I think there's also lots of Taiwanese like to have a private place, and also the office.
Understandable.
Yeah, also be maybe a box in it. Yeah, have a very private and need to work by themselves.
Like a cubicle?
Oh yeah, right, cubicle.
Oh, I see. Right. Oh yeah, we didn't have cubicles in the offices where I work, but you could focus on your work. Like people would not usually come and interrupt you all the time. You would know when it's a time to chat or not. But you know, understand the preferences.
Yeah. Okay. So who will be the next volunteers? You can raise your hand. Or I will select another one. I'm going to select another one. Okay.
Hello, good morning, Professor. Okay. I want to choose Canada mainly. I want to know how about their laboratory and their working environment, and also Canada is a multicultural country, so there are many peoples are gathered in festive moments. I know these things a little bit, and also I prefer that Canadian government is so good for their scientific projects and experiments, and they're doing good. But also I love Greece for their historical places, and there are so many old ancestors of Europe. So also I love Greece, and I know a little bit their history. So first I will travel Canada and then I will go Greece. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right there. I've woken it up. Okay. Yeah, thanks. And just to say, you're right that generally speaking, Canada, I would say, is more multicultural than Greece. That there are people of all nations in Greece, but often these would be tourists. So this could also influence the perception, right? If you're not Greek, they might view you as a tourist, and it doesn't mean they're not going to treat you well. But in Canada, it's easier to assimilate, I think, from people from all kinds of different backgrounds, and there's more money for research in Canada and a bigger research infrastructure generally.
So let's find the third one. I think it will be the last one due to the time. Who want to be the last one? The volunteers?
Hello. Most of the members from our group also like the work environment in Canada, but maybe like the environment in Greece, like the weather or the beautiful places, the scenery, and then also we will like the work environment can be like maybe company will values the colleagues and will pay a lot of attention on their learning or their health, or maybe hold some events for outdoor activities to balance their work pressure and their mental health.
Thank you. You are. I guess Greece should be thankful to you for your optimistic or charitable view. And you're right. It's very beautiful, and that's definitely one of the perks of working in Greece. You already the place where I lived was a city called Thessaloniki. There's lots of nice spots there, but especially it was very easy to go to these islands, like we've heard of Santorini or Mykonos. These are beautiful, absolutely beautiful places, and you can go there, fly there very quickly for a cheap price. But then, yeah, it is overall, I think, a less international country than Canada, with less opportunities and to pursue these kind of big collaborative projects. And the one that I was part of was distributed across Europe, not just based in Greece.
Yeah, thanks for your sharing and also the comment from Professor Alex. And I think there's also have a little bit time. So after the Greece job and then Professor Alex, you get another job at Hong Kong. It is your first time that moved to the Eastern country. So do you have any stories you can share for us about the Hong Kong the Hong Kong job?
Yeah, I mean, I have lots of stories. Some of them are lighthearted, others are more serious or even kind of more depressing. So I understand from Michael I should focus on the more positive stuff. So maybe I can focus on the first one, the first picture. That was a cultural night. I was living in this college because I was at Chinese University of Hong Kong. I had a job there. And they have a college system like in other British universities. And in my college they had these cultural nights where you'd have students from another country who would introduce their country to the rest of the college members. And if my memory is correct, this was students from Kyrgyzstan who had their own night. So what I'm wearing there is a traditional Kyrgyz attire, which I've only worn once in my life. But they gave it to me. I took this picture, and yeah, that was one of those occasions to learn about other cultures that I knew very little about. And yeah, there were a number of events. One night we had a stand-up comedian who came over to give a lecture, which was pretty funny, as you'd expect.
Yeah,
the students from my Department of Philosophy at CUHK when I was there.
Yeah, so I think there's also, this is a very good story in Hong Kong. And yes, I think it's about the end for today's event. And before the end, that if there is a student that he or she is facing to a new working environment, and how will you suggest them? Do you have any suggestion for them when they just facing a new environment?
Well, I would recommend first informing yourself as much as you can about your future new environment and what to expect there. Beyond that, I think this slogan, which Michael came up with, is pretty good. Trust your ability to adjust. It sounds good, and it's true, because you will have the ability to adjust to your new environment and figure out how things work, even though it can be intimidating at the beginning, especially if you haven't traveled a lot. Initially, if you stayed in your home country, at first it can be intimidating, but once you do it, and especially if you prepare yourself in advance, you'll see that you can adapt and navigate your new environment very successfully, I'm sure.
Really thankful for your sharing. And just again, that I think this will be your take-home message that you can bring with you, and just trust your ability to adjust. That is just a sentence that comes from our chatting previously. So, very thankful Professor Alex that can join the Corner 2 Award, and also all of you join today's event. And it will be the end, so I will pass the microphone back to Pei.